There you are. Glad you made it back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, no matter where you're in the world. You know it is JJ and JJ's PC Builds. Let's see. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe. It would help the channel. We're trying to work towards 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. What I mean by 4,000 watch hours, watch the videos from beginning to end. It would be much appreciated. It would help the channel get monetized and grow and, help the community. It would be much appreciated. And welcome all the new subscribers that just subscribed. Welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds family. And all the subscribers that are current, we want to thank you all for being a subscriber. We much appreciate your love and support. Thank you very much for helping the channel out and help the channel grow. Okay, let's get to the basics. All right, the thing is this. Now, I put out a video, my last video on this rebuild that I was doing with the asus motherboard, the B550A, the Strix motherboard, and the new Ryzen CPU I got is the Ryzen 7 5700X. So what I did was I switched the motherboard and the processor, but I kept the Corsair RAM, the CL16 3200 RAM, 64 gigs of it, so I kept that. I wasn't going to go up to 3600 or whatever, because I was investigating that. They said it's best to just stay with the 32. Or I could have clocked up, but, the thing is I really didn't want to do that. But I noticed too that, let's see, let me open this up and take y'all along with me so y'all see what I'm doing. Okay, we're going to go to action screen right there. Let's say we go to amd.com /Ryzen 7 5700X and hit enter. So we'll bring up the specifications so this way you all can see what I'm looking at right now. Okay, see where it has memory connectivity right here, down here. Let me move it up a little bit. Connectivity right here. You probably can't see it, but anyway, where it says PCIe 4.0, system memory up to 3200 megahertz. Now you got to follow what they put on the processor. That's the whole thing, and I keep saying this 1,000 times. Okay, you can follow what they say on the motherboard, but the thing is the processor dictates, the speeds and everything else that you can put down on the motherboard. But if you want to overclock and everything else, which it's not, with the AMD processors, you can overclock and achieve some goals. But what comes along with it is some heat. And I don't think you want to keep some heat in your case. So, memory specifications, they have max memory speed right here for the DDR4. They say memory 2 channel. Now, it's got the 2XR1R DDR4 3200. Okay. So that means you can run one channel at a certain speed. Okay, now the 2X2R, it means you can run 2 channels. You can run one channel at 3200 megahertz. You can run 2 channels at 3200 megahertz. But there's a caveat to the 4 channels. They say the 4 channels can run at 2933, the R1R. 1R, there's 2R and 1R. 1R means that I think it's single and the 2R is double. Okay, so 4X 2R DDR4 2667. Okay, they say that for stability. That should be your max flow on your DDR4 memory goes up to 2667. But you can get, you can do it manually, and I suggest you do it manually when you go into the BIOS, and we'll take you in that adventure. You do stay tuned for that, because we got that adventure coming up next. So we're going to go ahead and show you this so you understand that the processor has functions, and it's set at certain functions like 2 memory channels. Okay, even DDR4 is set at 2 memory channels, your main channels, set at 3200 megahertz. Okay, me on the other hand didn't pay attention to it, and guess what? I'm running four DIMM sticks. Okay, I'm running them all DDR4 3200s. All 4. It seems to handle fine. But if you're gonna do a DOCP or an XMP, you're best off to do a manual clock and clock it to 3200 megahertz to the infinity cache to 1600 megahertz. The reason why it's 1600 megahertz because each DIMM stick is 1600 megahertz. Each DIMM stick is 1600 megahertz. That's where the catch-22 comes in. Where they say you can do to 2667. Okay, now the way I'm recognizing it, it's each DIMM stick you can do at 2667 each. But since I'm running each DIMM stick at 1600 megahertz each, we're fine. We're well within the parameters of this right here. Now, if it's all 4 have to be within that parameter, that's a different story. But I'm taking it that each DIMM stick has to be at below 2667 megahertz to run 4 channels. Dual 4 channels. Okay, that's what the 2 set stands for, dual 4 channels. That's what this stands for, dual 4 channels. And then you got single 4 channels, and then you got dual 2 channels, and you got single 2 channels. And you got single 1 channel, just one DIMM stick. So, they don't put that there, they don't tell you about it. So you can have a dual-sided single DIMM stick running at 32 gigabytes of RAM at CL16 3200 megahertz. They don't tell you that. So, but you can do that, run a single stick. Why would you? I mean, you get more performance and less heat when you run matching dual sticks or matching 4s than you would one single stick. You burn out that one single stick faster. So I just wanted to bring you along for that, so that way you all can see what's going on right here, with the Ryzen 7 5700X, and these are all the specifications for the 5700X. So let's go ahead and get our heads out of here and bring it back to the main screen so we can do the next bit. Now the next bit I recorded going into the BIOS because I got single PC. I don't have another PC that I can take and capture, record like everybody else does. So I don't have a capture card in here, basically. I have to do everything on the manual for right now until I get another PC that's going to be dedicated, to just doing videos and creator work and stuff like that. I got one PC that's dedicated to do gaming and creator work. So until I can get another one built, you just have to wait. But we'll do it manually so that way y'all can see I'm not a lazy ass. I do these videos very, the best way I can. I just want to tell you all that real quick. So let's go ahead and jump into what I recorded, and I'll take and, talk right through it, because basically when I recorded it, I didn't talk through it. I basically went step to step to step. So we will get right into that in 1 second. So stay tuned. Alright, well, if you made it this far, well, I appreciate y'all making sure if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Let's go ahead and switch back to the action screen. There we go. I did this recording here. Okay, I just did this a few seconds ago, so what we'll do is we'll take and we'll play it, and we'll do a step by step. I know it's a little difficult to see right now, but it's where I had the position of the camera. So we'll do a little play-by-play so that way y'all can see what's going on. Now, if you're going to get into the BIOS, make sure you press the delete key or F2 to get into the BIOS. I know it's a weird way of seeing this, but I'm doing the best I can, so bear with me, we'll get through this. Alrighty, here we go, the Asus BIOS. Now this is just for Asus. I don't know about the other vendors, but this is just for Asus. And we go to AI Tweaker here, and then I'm showing you around what I did. I left AI Overclock Tuner to auto. I turned off the SB Clock Spectrum. Asus Performance Enhancements disabled. The memory clock. The memory frequency. Okay, I left at 3200. And the F clock, I left at 1600 megahertz. And the CPU core ratio, I left at auto. So as you can see it here, I'm showing you step by step. The TPU, I left at keep current settings. I didn't overclock that. And going on down the road, you can see I left pretty much everything at auto, and there's not much to this. I left it at auto, let the system decide what the powers were. I don't think I needed to adjust anything. It's best probably not to adjust anything unless you got too much power on the CPU voltage or your SoC. Then it'd be best to do it manually. Make sure you do your diligence and do your homework. And now we're into the advanced section, and we're going down the road to going all the way down. We're going to AMD overclocking, and hit accept, and go to precision boost overdrive, That's your next bout. Then go to curve. Make sure you leave everything just the way you see it. You leave it precision boost overdrive on advanced, auto CPU override, boost override disabled, and platform thermal on auto. Curve optimizer. This is where the fun begins. Now the thing is you can do this any way you want. You can put it on auto, or you can put it all core or put it per core. Best thing to do is per core. So I put negative 25. I found this is right here. This was the best of the best for all the cores, was put it negative 25. I tried it at negative 30. It didn't work out. System crashed, but I found out it's more stable at negative 25 all core, for the optimization. So that's pretty much it to that. You do it in increments of 5 to, let me go ahead and pause this right here. Understand this, okay? Read this very carefully when you go into AMD overclocking, okay? Any modifications you make will void your warranty. Since I'm undervolting and I'm not overvolting, there's a big difference. And I'm not really voiding my warranty because I'm keeping my processor cool. So basically I'm undervolting, not stressing out the processor to cause it to heat up, and so on. So, but as far as the curved optimizer, do it in increments of 5. That's the best way to do it. Start at negative 30 and then work your way down. Now the test I used was OCCT, and when we get into it, I'll show you later on down the road how you can test with OCCT. But for now, I'm just running a few minor tests to see if there's any kind of stability that's on the processor. So moving on down the road, let's go ahead and continue with this. Okay, now I'm going to go up to APM's configuration. Now the ERP ready, make sure you get it set to S4 and S5, and that's pretty much it there. If not, your mouse is going to be lit up when you shut your computer off, so do keep that in mind. So moving up down the road. Let's see. Look in your AMD CBS to make sure everything's hunky-dorky. I always look through there to make sure it's, everything's on auto. I don't need to mess with the rest of them. I just want to make sure that, it looks good going forward. And also, too, make sure you get your rebar enabled at the top. And that's what I was trying to show you. There's a little tab at the top that says rebar. You can enable your rebar from there and don't need to worry about setting the rest. So just go from there. Makes it a lot easier just to turn on your rebar from there. Especially if you're running the newer graphics cards, you're going to need the rebar. So you hit your exit button, and one thing that I'm going to bring point clear. Before you go to mess with any of the settings in the BIOS, make sure you go to the exit button first. Load defaults. And do yourself that favor. Load the defaults first before you go in and start messing with the settings. So this way you're getting everything set at default value. So that way you know that you don't mess things up when you make your changes to the settings, and you know what you're setting so you can make the sudden changes. You know, just be very careful when you're messing with your settings in the BIOS, because you can always screw it up. I didn't enable TPU overclocking because I had a bad experience with it already. I suggest you leave it at keep current settings, just to say. Alright, let's go ahead and keep moving on down the road. So, I just want to make that point clear. It's very simple in the BIOS. It's like boom, boom, you're done. You know, make sure when you're testing, if your computer crashes and Windows restarts, that you go into the BIOS, that you go into Curve Optimizer, you drop it 5. From 30, go down to 25, then go down to 20, until you get a stable, you know, environment. So, you go ahead and just exit out of this, and you're good to go. So, and as far as setting your fans in the BIOS, you can set up your fan curve optimization for the fans for your motherboard in the BIOS. Now, you can use MSI Afterburner to do your GPU fans, so we'll leave it at that. We're rebooting now, so, you know, we'll go into a little bit of testing, and then after we get said and done through all this, then I'll give you my final thoughts. So, and yes, we're booting into this just as is. So, we'll go ahead and just get into the passwords and everything else, which y'all can't see. But, yeah. So, we're on the desktop. There are some things that boot up that comes with the motherboard, so I'm waiting for them to boot up, and we're going to go into performance. What is it? What's that right there? Here, I'm sorry. Man, my mouse just does not want to play nice today. Let's see, what do you call it? Oh yeah, there we are. This I had a little problem with, you know, just for CPU testing, it's pretty good. But when it comes for the 3D GPU test, it seems to have a little bit of a problem. It seems to crash on the 3D section of it. So we might, you know, I clicked all to see what, you know, what it would do, and went through the CPU and everything else, but it did not crash the CPU. CPU stayed below 60 degrees Celsius, which that is 156 Fahrenheit, maybe less. But now the CPU, the way I have it set up, it does not go past 61 or 62 degrees Celsius. So just to let you know, the way I have it set up right now, it seems to lock it down 20 degrees, 20, 30 degrees away from the 90 degree C point. And that's the whole idea, staying as low as you can. So, as you can see, the CPU test, it hit off the charts. So, I mean, it hit off the charts. So, go through all these little tests and everything else. This is a 2D test. You know, I hope y'all are enjoying this video, because I'm doing best I can here. And trust me, when you go through all this, this is the kind of testing that it goes through. And, you know, it really jabbers at the screen. You know, when it comes to testing to see the speeds and everything else. It really hits it pretty hard. It hits the CPU and the GPU pretty hard. So, as y'all can see, I got the little thingy up there. So, don't forget to subscribe. Would be much appreciated. And yeah, I did the best I can to get as much as I can of the video. And it did pretty good on the results of it all. So, just to say, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right here because, we're going to go past it. See, this is where it gets stuck. Right here. So, we'll go ahead and go past that. Well, we'll just go ahead and run it so y'all can see. Y'all can see the amount of, hell it put on my monitor and the graphics card. And that's where the test follows out right here. See, it'll run that test, but after that, I was looking for artifacting, I was looking for trails, and stuff like that. I didn't see anything that's, going to be like monstrous, that's going to be a big problem. So I really didn't see anything that's going to be any problem at all. But as far as, with the overall testing, it seems to have held. So as you can see, I did a lot of testing. Not a lot, but close to a lot. So we'll go ahead and we'll stop the test right here. We'll stop the test right there. So this way, you can see that it's going through its cycles and it's doing what it needs to do. I'm pretty impressed with it myself. I don't want to make too long of a video. So, I know this video is already going to be like maybe 30, 45 minutes. So let's get to do like maybe one test here on with OBS so you can see a little bit of the difference. And then after that, I'll give you some conclusions on the testing to see if I'm happy with the changes I made or not, and let you know what I'm thinking. So let's just jump right in to the next test and see what happens. Alrighty, we switch to the action screen again. Now I'm going to run 3D Mark just the way I have the system set up. So let's see what we see. I'm going to run Time Spy first, and then I'll run through the course of tests. So I know that YouTube won't ban me from the volume, so we're fine. So we're going to run through it and see, because you've seen the testing on the B450. Now let's do the testing on the B550 and see what happens. I told you I'm going to take you along with me. I'm going to take you along with me. So that way you can see if I made a positive choice on upgrading to the B550, or I could have stayed with the B450 and been happy. So we're going to see if we're going to be happy with this and see if it's going to perform just as good or better than the B450. These are both asus motherboards. They're running AMD Ryzen processors. So either way you look at it, it's a win for win situation. And that's the way I look at it. It's just a win for win situation, and I'm going to be happy with it. Oh, see, I did that again. Here. I did that again, and I do apologize for it. I just want to make sure you all see the stats, me doing it. So, you know, I want to make sure everything is just where it needs to be so you can see all the numbers and everything else. Let me look and make sure we're okay. So we'll open up Riva Tuner and we'll pull it over a little bit so this way y'all can see it. Oh, and I just closed Riva Tuner for some reason. It's back up. Okay, so run again. Let's try this again. Look, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all have that, you know, prerogative. You know, I make mistakes, and I admit it. I'm not perfect. I'm not hiding none of my mistakes. Like I said, from beginning to end, you all are seeing everything. So there's nothing cut to this. It's all one video. The only thing that I'm adding into the video was from the other cam when I did the bias, and I showed you all the instruction on bias. So this way, you know, y'all can see everything. So it looks like I got everything pretty good in line. Now with the volume, we can always turn the volume up. That way y'all can hear it. Now do take note of this. It is hitting 3,000 megahertz. This GPU is hitting 3,000 megahertz, so keep note of that. To me, I think it looks great. The response time is a lot better, I think. Compared to the B450, the response time is like astronomical. Notice the CPU temperature, GPU temperature is staying right where they need to be. See, that's a good thing. See that the CPU temperature and GPU temperature are staying right below, like maybe 62 degrees, 60 degrees. You know, they're staying right there. That's a nice little sweet spot. Wouldn't mind having it a little bit lower, you know, like 55, 56. But I'll take 60. Believe it or not, I will take 60 for the speeds that's coming out with this. You know, over 100 FPS. See, now the difference between the B450 and the B550 that I've noticed, that the B450, the DirectX FPS was down to like maybe 12, 13, and now this is running 120, you know, between 100 and 120 FPS off of, you know, the first scene. You know, we still got the second scene and the processor, the CPU processor, you know, to see what it's going to do on that. And then we get an overall score. Hopefully it'll be a satisfying score after the little adjustments I've made. You know, that's what I'm hoping for right now, a little bit of a retribution. So, we will see. And, you know, we'll see if it makes me happy. That's what I'm trying to see right now. It dips down to a low maybe in the 60s, 70s. But comes right back up again, comes back up into the hundreds. You know, dips down low, comes back up high, comes back strong. It's doing everything that it needs to be doing. This test is very, you know, GPU intense test. So, see, it comes right back up, you know, and just keeps it going. And that's what makes me happy. If it, you know, drops down low but comes back strong, then, you know, it's good to go. It ain't no different than Second Life, because Second Life does the same thing. It's where your camera is focused at. Your screen, in front of your screen, you watching everything is where the camera is supposed to be looking at. So wherever the camera is pointed at, and understand this, wherever the camera is pointed at is going to give you your max FPS. So if you're looking at straight and you're walking down the road, you know, it's got blinders on and it's looking right there. Now let's see if this is going to give me any different than last time. So starting off strong at 50, dropping down to staying strong in the 30s. Now with the B450 was only at 15, maybe 15 FPS, you know, 17 at the max. So that score, I'll take. I'll take that score any day. I mean, that's actually 4,000 higher than it was on the B550's 4,000 higher than it was on the B450. So right here, the CPU score that you all see right here, that did real good. Now I'm really impressed with that. So 15,936, I'll take that any day. That's a score that I'm happy with. I mean, let's see what it gives. First test, graphics score was 18,081. Graphics test 1 was 119.43 FPS. Second graphics score was 102.46 FPS. And the CPU was at 32.02 FPS. So that's not too bad compared. And it did really good. Yep. GPU temperature stayed in the 50s. So, yeah. Well happy with it. Well happy with it. Oh yeah. So that's a good run. Okay, when I get into overclocking it, it'll be a little different story. But when I do that, I want to have a real test bench, and I want you all to understand that. I want to have a real test bench to put, you know, the motherboard on and soup it all up and not have it inside the case. This way I can take and tweak and make different modifications. That's coming on in the future, so you have to stick around for that. We will be getting to that point to where I have a test bench motherboard and a test bench GPU, and if I want to test GPUs, then I have a direct motherboard that's going to be testing just for GPUs. Now, and the opposite way, if I want to test for motherboards, then I have a dedicated GPU for that, and stuff like that. So that's coming in the future. Let's hope that, we get everything all straight and kosher. And I am going to be fixing this place up here to, accommodate, maybe another desk. So this way I can do testing on that and stuff like that. So more to come on that. So let's get back to the benchmarks. Okay, back to the benchmarks. We did Time Spy. Okay. Now we're going to hit Firestrike. Okay. Time Spy is a DirectX 12. Now Firestrike is DirectX 11. So let's hit it and see what happens and go from there. Let's run it and do enjoy the test. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Would be appreciated. And yes, I did say I was going to have a short testing here, but turns around it's not going to be short. Looks like it's going to be another hour video. So do bear with me on the video. We're going to take and make that a little bit bigger for you. How about that? We'll make it bigger for you. Those numbers look sick. Bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Believe it or not, this is 1080p, y'all. This is 1080p. It's not even 1440p. That's the thing. It's not even 1440p. And it still looks sick as hell. Notice the processor. The CPU processor is right there, is hitting 4650 megahertz at 60 watts, 61 watts, 62, 65. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So, not too bad. We're at graphics test number 2. We just went through number 1. Here's number 2. Let's see what we get. I like how the GPU kind of fluctuates in the megahertz, so it doesn't stay total consistent, but it's consistent enough when it goes to hit those, hard spots that are in the video. So, especially the ones where the latency is high, it seems to be picking up for the latency. I do not see a bottleneck. This is the thing. I'm not seeing no bottlenecking whatsoever. It seems that I got matching pair here. This is a matching computer, so it seems to be just hitting it just right. The only thing that I might think about is an AIO water cooling solution instead of this this air-cooled heat sink cooler. Might think about going into an AIO. So this way I can take and lower some of the specs that are, and start doing some overclocking, and I'm not sure if I want to do a 240 or a 360. Because if I use a 360, then I lose the fans in front, then I lose my front pressure. So I might do a 240 or a 2. I might be able to fit a 280 in there, but it might be good just to do a 240. Because the motherboard, unless I get a better case, then I can do a 360. You see this? It says great right here. Look at this. This is sick. 46,342 on the graphics score. Physics score, 26,728. Now, on the B450 motherboard, it was half this. So, we are right there. We are above average. So, this test hit really well. And I know I never got this kind of score with the B450 motherboard. And having the RTX 4070 on it, I didn't even get this kind of score. So I know we're in the right direction. So let's go and do another benchmark. And then after this benchmark, I'll break it down and bring you to my conclusions, what I think, and where I think this is heading. So do stick around for this one, and here we go. Takes a couple minutes, no matter what kind of motherboard you have. When it comes to loading the test, it still takes a little bit to load the test. Nothing is instant, because do remember, it's got to go over your internet to connect and everything else. And, it's just, you go through the headaches of trying to load each test. So do remind you of that. Now watch the FPS in this. This one, it hits it very hard on the FPS. Not to the negative, to the positive. I I think this one right here, this test explains it all. So. I mean, it's still getting around 400 to 500 FPS on this first one here. Well, hitting 600 now, 700. You know, I mean, it goes from like 400 to 800. So I still think on this test here the low is about around maybe 350, 370 to 800 on the high, so it varies. I still think it does good. Anything over 300 FPS I'm happy with. You know, like I said, wherever your camera is positioned is going to be where your FPS is going to be sitting. So if you don't understand how that works, what it is your camera visualizes where you're going to be focused at. So that's where it's going to be the most it takes away from your FPS. So keep that in mind. Because once you start moving away from your focus on that object, some objects are going to be to where they take and they drain your FPS. Some objects. Now, it does not mean that you're losing FPS. It's just the objects themselves are, you know, over-textured. Over-textured objects will drop your FPS. You know, ones that are really high in texture rating, they'll really be kicking your FPS. Like this one right here, it hits at about 900. It starts off at about 900 FPS, comes down to 800. It's because the amount of objects, you can see where things start changing. When the camera view changes, so does your FPS. Do keep that in mind. I mean, are we going to see this kind of FPS all the time through all the games? Some games you might, some games you might not. So it all depends on the game and the amount of textures they use and all that stuff that they use in the game. That's going to either lower your FPS or bring your FPS up. So it all depends on the game maker. If they want to make the visuals in the game a lot better, then it's going to be at the cost of FPS. Now, if they want to make them crappier, then that'll be the cost of visualizing in the game. So, either way, you get one or the other. So, this one, for the processor, is giving me the same response, I hate to say this, as the B450. I don't know why, but the latency seems about the same. Y'all can watch the test back on the B450 and see the difference with this one compared to that one. I still think they're about almost equal. So that kind of sucks because B550 should be a lot stronger than it is. You know, it should be able to kick at least to the max. Everything to the max with no problems. But, you know, they always have problems. Now, I can't beat this score with the stick. Looking at it, you get graphics score right here, 124,165. Now, I'm happy with that. That I'm happy with. And the CPU score is 13,391, giving me a total score of 55,410. I'll take that any day of the week. I will take that. No problem at all. I don't know about y'all, but I'll take it. I'll take it if I can get it. And that's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and get up out of here. And we're shutting things down. See? We just shut things down. Okay, now let me go back to the... After I get done rerouting everything, let's see, video capture, no, display capture, yep. Let's switch everything back around. There. Okay, now we're switching things back around. And here we go. We're back here. So, okay. This is going to be an hour-long video. We got about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to give you my conclusions in about 4 minutes' time, so that way we make it a complete hour video. So, okay, my conclusion is this: the Asus ROG Strix B550A motherboard rocks 100%. Balls to the wall. Okay, I don't have any problems with it. The only problems I had earlier was because of my little mistake, but I got past it, and now we're past that. We're rocking along. So, doing the test and everything else, yes, I did have to reduce the amount of voltage that's going to the, I had to undervolt the processor until I can get an AIO water cooler, and probably later on down the road I'm thinking about getting a bigger case, one that I can take the top off, and I can fit everything in carefully. I can reroute the fans carefully, and I can have a lot of space for the place. So too much space will heat up the space even more and make it hotter, even if you got a lot of airflow. So remember, keeping it in a happy medium of not too big but not too small will keep it at a happy temperature. So do keep that in mind. But anyway, my conclusion is that this is a rockin' motherboard. End of story, hands down. With the RTX 4070, the Ryzen 7 5700X, and the Asus Strix B550A motherboard, hands down. And this build right here is still at $1,000. Even though that I took the B450 motherboard out with the processor, switched it, and put it in there, it still keeps the build at $1,000. Can you figure that one out? Maybe because I got the motherboard and processor on a good deal. So you can get good deals out there, just got to look a little bit harder. So, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We just hit the 1 hour mark. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And want to thank all the subscribers that just joined the channel. Welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds family. And I want to thank all the subscribers that are here helping support the channel. We do much appreciate you supporting the channel. Much kudos to you. Thumbs up and much hugs. Okay, so y'all have a fine day and just have a fantastic Friday. How about that? Until the next time, in the next video, this is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.